What up, Gotcha Gang? It's your boy Gotcha J. This is your every other week good where we break down the incoming Guardian Tales heroes. Today we have Trickster Lucy, who's a very interesting person. I'm gonna go ahead and throw a lot at you right here on the surface of the video, so if you want to watch longer, you can. Is this a must roll? I'm gonna say no, but if we're gonna go from like an F to an S tier unit, she's probably like the A minus. For those of you that are later in the game and looking for specific compositions, she's probably a really good starting piece put into a lot of the crit based builds. And for those of you that are really early on in the game, it's probably good to go ahead and pick her up, forecasting the future of the game. I'll get into a little bit of that a little bit later down the road, but for right now, let's dig straight into this. All right, we're gonna try something different today. Instead of me begging for your likes, subs, and comments below, how about we do it like this? We're gonna play rock, paper, scissors. You versus me, okay? And if you lose, you gotta subscribe, you gotta like, and you gotta comment. If you win, do whatever you want. I don't care, download it, I don't care. You won, you get the right to choose. Okay, you ready? On go. 1, 2, 3. You potentially just lost to a pre-recorded video. How bad do you feel? So this is Trickster Lucy here. As you can see, she very much looks like a trickster. They're very much increasing the assets that they are giving these characters. And one of these days we will actually get another husbando. I mean, look at that, okay? That's just not needed. So Trickster Lucy is one of the very few fire units that we have in the game at this level and potentially of viability. Her and Lynn are probably the only ones that'll see any sort of play whatsoever. And then if we look at her Fantasia's weapon over here, it is just a pretty cool cane. So let's go ahead and break down her character information. So obviously she's a staff accessory user. Card trick, throws cards to inflict damage to enemies. So she's kind of like a Twisted Fate, but you know, not. Chain skill, inflicts 300% of DPS with a hurricane card trick, increases allies crit hit multiplier by 100% for 6 seconds. So this is the main primary reason you're gonna go after her. This is actually an insane modifier to put on your characters. I mean, you can kind of replace Gabriel in a lot of instances with this character, and it would actually be a more viable option. Though the difference between her and Gabriel is is a little bit more sustained, and she can kind of fit into better compositions than she can, and she's better at countering the meta of all the different dark units, all the different light units that are out there, whereas there's not any other like really viable earth units besides Garam and Bari that are out there running around. And so Lucy doesn't really have a good fit into that regard, so you could kind of run her as a neutral target in a lot of instances. But if you ever run into a Garam, you're just kind of absolutely destroyed. And then special ability Phantom Walk. On crit hit, which you're going to be doing quite a bit with the crit hit chance and the 100% crit multiplier, moving speed increases by 25% for 4 seconds and crit hit multiplier increases by 50%. So honestly, if this is increased by 50% and it's already at 36%, I'm imagining that her weapon has some crit in it. You're basically always going to be running an additional 25% for 4 seconds. It doesn't say a cooldown here, so that's something that you would actually have to see from gameplay itself. Overall, her kit is pretty sustainable. It's pretty viable. She seems like a pretty good support character. It says she's a ranged fire, which is good news in some ways, but at the same time, I would classify her more as the support since she does so much crit enhance. And she has this movement speed buff to where she could potentially be a better kite, and her auto attacks do things like hit over walls and things of that sort. So she could be pretty viable in arena with the speed and the ability to kite over walls and things like that. So I think that's kind of where you're going to see her viability pop into play there. Let's hop over to Fantasia here and look at this. So Fantasia epic staff, let's jump all the way to 90, upwards to 3073 DPS, which is actually very strong. Fire only at 907, so you would want to definitely get closer to the 907 mark if you were to top this out, because that fire attack damage is actually going to be one of the largest multipliers that you can get on the character itself. Crit hit chance plus another 13, so we are already at what, 88, and now this pushes it over to 100% crit at all points and times. So you're doing like 7,000 per auto attack ish. I don't know, that's just base math. I don't have this character yet. I don't think I'm going to get this character quite yet. I have other priorities to work towards. So I'm just gonna leave it be. And if that means that you're gonna throw out this entire video just because I don't have her and I'm not using her at highest tier arena, I mean, that's fine, that's fine. My channel is mainly geared towards helping people understand the game, not you top end PvP people, because you guys are already experts at the game and I love you for that. HP of 20%, defense of 18%. Both of those are very viable. It will give her a little bit more of a tankiness. She's definitely not someone like a Veronica that can tank things, but yeah, she's pretty close. Weapon skill speed regen of 16%. On hit, a card explodes and inflicts additional 30% of DPS with a 40% chance. So you're looking at a little bit about like a 12% constant DPS increase, which isn't that great. When using Royal Straight Flush, increase defense by 30% for 3 seconds. So that's her skill over here on a 9-second cooldown, 3 seconds. So there's 1/3 of the time you will be having a defense up of 30%. So that's not really anything to note that home about, but you could use that situationally. Work on your kiting and your engage. Throws 5 magic cards in order, puts enemies in airborne state is what the skill information does. So that's okay. When it actually breaks down, it kind of looks like an RE balls floating around. Skill damage plus 22%. You kind of really need this when it's only doing 190% DPS. Overall, the weapon here doesn't seem like it's anything that's necessary. Sure, the 12% here, the 13% here kind of puts her into better ranges, but this 30% buff and the skills here, it doesn't really scream anything that you would absolutely need out of your weapon. So you could kind of put that on the back burner and you could use her primarily for her utility, which is that crit up that we see here and the crit hit chance, and then her chain skill. Overall, she's probably a very solid unit to work around and work into team compositions. Let's go ahead and pull up Gabriel real quick. So here's my Gabriel. Gabriel also has the 36%, which is very strong, and then her chain skill inflicts 300% damage, restores all allies HP by 30% of heal, and removes all negative effects. So the difference between her and Lucy in terms of what they are actually doing, she has a little bit more sustainability with the 30% heal. You're also getting the 30%. So if you're running a team where you only want to have one crit user, maybe you would just run Lucy. Lucy would do things like buffing your Lin up. Maybe you could run her as the only hero in conjunction with Garam, and you could run more of a tankier frontline, things of that nature. I don't know that you would actually want to run her in compositions in place of Mayril here when you're running the Bari, but I could definitely see Lucy fitting into situations to be like a pretty good glue piece, and then occasionally be a good centerpiece when looking at the rest of your team composition put together. Overall, I don't think she's a must-have. I think that she really fits into a lot of ways. I definitely think you're going to see her in the arena because of that skill increase, or that movement speed increase more than anything else. And the crit damage is pretty good. Her damage output is very solid. I wouldn't put it at the top end, but it's solid. And the 100% crit on a team every 6 seconds is pretty viable in general. The main thing that people need to realize is raid. If you're in a high tier guild looking at raid content, or you're a lower tier person thinking that raids are the thing that you want to work on the most, Lucy is a must own just because fire is in such a bad place. And that kind of brings me into the topic that I said we would bring into the fold later into the video, and that time is now. And that's the future of this game. One thing you got to think about is the progression of which this capping of the skills coming out. Characters like Lilith and Future Princess and all of these characters are slowly upping the value of older characters. We're starting to see situations where characters like Agma are even starting to be phased out in a lot of requesting situations. I don't personally run Agma anymore because I'm running Beth and Lilith together. So he would definitely be a good add, but I don't see the priority on him right now. So we're starting to see older units slowly be moving out. I think the three oldest units that you're actually going to see find a harder time escaping the meta would be Nari being the absolute oldest, or did Mia come first? Mia, Nari, and Future Princess are probably the oldest must-haves. I think Agma, if you're not through with the game, is probably still considered a must-have. But I would say that Lucy, where things sit right now, she's in a very healthy place to project that she will be viable as the game goes along. I think she fits pretty well right now because of that crit buff. But also, if we're going to be getting a light range team, which I would imagine we will, or at least another solid fire melee character that would really benefit from having the increased crit rate, maybe they'll actually do some rework to Piltvis to make her more viable, which seems unlikely considering she's the free character that they give out. Either way, they're going to be buffing fire in the future. There's no way that they don't. It is not a viable class right now. So I think from that regards, if you're trying to future proof, I think that Lucy is right below a must own. But like I said, in terms of the actual tier list, if S is the highest you could be, I'm going to put her at an A-. She in herself is a good, viable character that I think a lot of new players should go after if they can get the Mia from the summons event, because in the summons banner, you have Lucy, Lynn. In terms of priority, I would say Mia is the most important. Then I would say Lucy, not because Lynn is bad. I think Lynn is better as the I don't know. Her and Lucy are probably similar in my minds in terms of arena. If anything, I would say that Lucy's easier for newer players to pick up in arena. Lynn kind of has that issue where it's gap closing, but if she gets on you, it kind of really hurts. So I would say that Mia is definitely the must own. You can't really do a lot of the top end content without Mia in your composition, which kind of sucks for me right now because I still don't have her. I've probably put like 60,000 gems into getting her. And then there's Lucy, then Lynn, and then Vishuvak. That's how I would look at it. All right, guys, that's it for me today. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave some comment for the algorithm. You know, show me some love. Take care, guys.
Peace.